Okay. Well, let's start at the beginning. A legend says that Gautama Buddha spent 8 years in the forest with yogin teachers, and in his 8 years in the forest, his task was to sit in the posture of zazen and rise through the levels of consciousness until at the 9th level of consciousness he was told he would be able to see the particles of the universe coming into existence and going out of existence. And that was supposed to be the highest attainable level of consciousness. You could see reality itself. So kind of very simple atomic physics. Of course it wasn't. But we don't know exactly, but he left the forest. Maybe he was fed up, maybe he was disappointed. We have to imagine why he left. And I don't believe there's any record to say what he attained, whether he got to 7th or 8th or 9th level. But he left. So I like to suppose that he got tired of it, because the legend says he had a drink of milk from a girl who was looking after goats and realized that his body needed nourishment. And then he sat down under a tree in the same posture, yoga posture, and realized that this world, here and now, is reality. That means he gave up what he was doing before, what he was trying to get before, what he was believing before. Because unless we give up what we're trying to do, we can't sit peacefully in the present. And then the story goes, he talked to his friends who'd been studying with him, and then gradually more people came to listen to what he was saying, which what he was saying must have been rather revolutionary. He was saying there's nothing to attain. The ultimate attainment is already here and now. And that must have been kind of really revolutionary thing to say. And then in the sutras there are stories about groups of people who gathered around Gautama Buddha and listened to him, and they practiced zazen with him, although it was called dhyana in Sanskrit or jhana in Pali. But it seems like the first groups, the first what we call sangha, lived in the forest. Well, there were cities in India in those days. They were very simple, small cities, but they chose to live in the forest. And then, as Buddhism, as this practice and this teaching became something which we now call Buddhism and spread, we're not quite sure exactly where it went first, from northern India down to southern India, and then to other places. But always the people who were studying kept apart from society. And if we go through the years after Gautama Buddha's teaching and his death and all that history, we find people who were practicing those practices and that teaching always lived apart from society. And the places they built to live in became known as Buddhist temples. And now we're practicing the practice and studying the teachings, which we hope may be the same as Gautama Buddha 2,000 years later. But to do it, we come away from society. So I'd like to talk about why it's necessary to come away from society. Dogen, who you all know I've studied for a long time, and some of you have studied him, said it's necessary to leave family life, necessary to leave home, shukkei in Japanese. Why is it necessary to... Well, everybody's been doing it, and we're doing it now. So why is it necessary? Or why is it useful? Well, I'd like to give you an explanation. It's my explanation. When we live in society, is, or civilization, is what human beings have put together from their minds. So the whole of societies and the whole of civilization is a creation of the human mind. Of course, after creating something in our mind, we then make it. That's called design. You think something, then you make it. And everything around us, tables, that thing, tissues, iPhones, is all the result of the human's ability to think and then to create what they thought. Fantastic. It's amazing that our nearest relative may be chimpanzee or a dog or a cat. And what can they do? Compared with humans, they can't do anything. A chimpanzee can use a stick to poke into the hole in the tree. A dog can pick up the newspaper and bring it to you. And we can discuss the latest app on the iPhone, or whether these tissues are better than thicker ones or thinner ones. It's ridiculous how developed we are. However, that fantastic ability of human beings, our fantastic ability to create this civilization we live in, has two sides. One is the fantastic side. The other side is we live in a kind of dream, which is also a kind of prison. And that dream or prison is the human condition. I'm using noises that I make from my throat, and you are understanding me. In your brain you're making understandings and ideas. But all these tools that human beings have developed have the ability to trap us in a kind of dream. I say dream. Another nice word is trance. I don't know if you have the word trance in Czech.
Yes.
We live in a trance. In that trance, we share ideas, beliefs. For instance, if I say to the tree, "What is a bank?" the tree doesn't answer me. If I say to you, "What is a bank?" you know what a bank is. A place where you put money. What's money? It's pieces of paper and pieces of metal. Okay, paper and metal, so what's it for? Well, we can use it. It has great power. So where's that power come from? The power comes from our minds. So this powerful civilization that we create from our minds is getting more powerful. And at the present time, it's getting a bit crazily powerful. So we are so influenced by the concepts, ideas and beliefs that are in society. Now, I think that was exactly the same in Gautama Buddha's time. But society was different, the ideas were different, the beliefs were different. Okay, great. What's the problem? We can just live with our tissues, iPhones, cars, coffee. Well, in the teachings that I studied, the Zen master Dogen talks about pursuing the truth, trying to find out what is true or real. But to find out what is true or real, we have to escape from this dream or trance. But if we stay in society, the power of society, of the ideas and the beliefs, is so strong we can't see what the real situation is. So it's necessary to come away. This is we experience this often. For instance, if you have a problem in a relationship, afterwards you can look from outside and you can see what happened. Or if you're having a lot of stress at work and you go away from work and you look back, you can see more clearly. So when we leave something, we have the ability to see what it is we left. For me, I left British society in 1977 and went to live among alien people from another planet. That's what it felt like that for a long time. Strange little people, you know. But the one fantastic thing I could do was I could see what the country was and the culture was I came from. So I could see myself, tall Englishman, big nose, long neck, you know, very arrogant. When we stay in something, we can't see. When we come out, if we want to, we can see more clearly. So, the reason why Sesshin, in medieval times, living in the temple, in Gautama Buddha's times, living in the forest, was so helpful is because it may be that the simplest way to find out what's going on when we're immersed in our family, our jobs, our relationships, we can't see. We get pulled this way, pulled that way, we get disturbed, we get tired, we get anxious. We can't see what's going on. Dogen said that you have to leave family life. So for him it was necessary to live outside society permanently. No family, no visiting his cousins or uncle, or no going to a coffee shop with his aunt or his nephew or whatever, but staying in this isolated temple with lots of other people who did the same. Well, that's one way to do it, but we don't need to do that these days because we have the ability to free ourselves. We have free time. We can live in society, but come out sometimes. And only when we come out can we see what's happening, where we came from. What's happening at the moment in society is a bit crazy. Personally, I think that society is a little bit mad as a whole, because it's based on beliefs which don't work. Like, for instance, constant growth.
Constant what?
Growth. Constant expansion.
Udržateľný růst.
It should be, yes. Should be, yes. We believe it should be. Yes.
Should be, yes.
Yes.
Almost. Yes.
Yeah.
Until the death of the universe.
Yeah.
But this is quite a long time.
Yes, yes.
Sorry.
No, yes, it's okay. What's the most powerful value in the world? Maybe money?
Power.
Yeah. How do you get power? Usually with money. You can say power, yeah, but power comes from money. Usually, not always. But in our normal life, money. We can see, everybody can see that money has ability. It's like hot air. It rises up like this. So the people down here don't have much, and the people up here have a lot. So I'm not criticizing, but this seems to be the way our society works now. And we have lots of people trying to understand the economy, society, and so on. We have ability to share our opinions on our phones or computers, and to spread memes of belief. You know what a meme is? Meme?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little abstract virus. A thought, which is a virus. Yeah.
Meme.
Jako gen, ale myšlenky.
Memory.
To je oficiální slovo?
To se používá.
So,
Novodobé.
society is how it is. The teachings of Buddha were not related to changing society, but related to seeing what reality is, seeing the truth. And the truth of reality may be that most of the time we live in a trance which is shared with all of us. But the teachings of the Buddha say if we practice this very simple practice, which we call Zazen, we step outside of the trance. Of course we don't. Sometimes even in Zazen, we're sitting like this, our eyes are closed and we're thinking about next week. So the trance is still there. But sometimes we're just sitting. And at the times when we're just sitting, I don't mean sitting with something happening inside or feeling some powerful force, but just sitting. The floor in front is the floor in front. The other people are the other people. The air is the air. Nothing special. In that state, we've stepped outside the trance of civilization, which is an amazing achievement. Even if it only happens for 1 minute during our Zazen, or even during the weekend. But usually we find that we're back in our trance again, and then we come out of it, and then we go back in, then we come out. But this process of going back in and coming out, we notice, I see. So I live here most of the time. When we're here, we get a feeling that, I see, I'm going into this dream and this trance. That's where I live. And that's called finding the truth. And this is why Dogen writes, when we sit in Zazen, whoever it is, whether they're an expert or a beginner, that activity that happens in Zazen shows us the truth. And to see the truth is to be enlightened. So he says everybody who practices Zazen is enlightened. Our difficulty is the word enlightened is part of the trance now, because people believe that it means something special. Language is part of our trance. So we step out of language. Thinking is part of our trance. So we step out of thinking. Imagining is part of our trance. So we step outside of imagining. So Dogen writes, drop off all our thoughts, feelings, images in our minds and so on. And then what we see is the real situation in which we live. And then we go back to that situation, because that's the only place human beings can live. We can't live in reality. We can't live in the world of mesons and nuons and muons and pruons, and we have to live in this dream that we've created, and that's it.
What do you mean we can't live in the reality? Exactly, because if you go from the trance, and Dogen maybe still was most of the time not involving in the trance.
I don't know. I don't think so.
You don't know. Okay, you don't think so. Okay, it's not impossible. So.
Impossible. To realise the truth is not to get out of the trance and live somewhere else, nirvana. That's not it. The truth is to realise that we live here, from here, and be able to move between the two.
Still the moment.
Yes. And this is why Nagarjuna wrote, the daily life, by daily life he means the trance in which we live, the dream in which we live, and nirvana, which is the place where there's no words, no concepts, no beliefs, no society, no civilization, are the same. He says they're exactly the same. And those of you who know the Heart Sutra, Heart Sutra says the same thing in a different metaphor. So people want to escape from one thing and find this wonderful other thing. But that's an illusion. People who say you can leave the normal world and become a perfect enlightened being are deluded. But if you can notice how stupid and deluded we are and must be because we're human, that's enlightenment.
Mike, I have a question about feeling good. So I think many people in society even realize that the money are just convenience, and they accept other things in society because they want to feel good. And the money and the custom of society are practical way with some downsides. And honestly, if I look honestly at myself, I also think I practice Zen because I want to feel good. I know it's not about it, but if I'm honest with myself, probably at the bottom it is there. The best I can see, this concept, what's good or feeling good, evolves a bit with the time. I don't know, but it seems to me that this feeling good is like this motto of most of us.
Yes, you're right. Most people who study the teachings of Buddha, most people, they have reasons like, I want to feel good, I want to be better, I want to join a club, I want to be in a theatre. These are all the reasons. Most people who study the Buddhist teachings have those reasons. But a few people want to know, what's it all about? What is life about? What is the truth? But only a few. That's why there's lots of huge groups of Buddhists who like to dress up as Tibetans or Japanese or whatever. Great, come. We make a cafe here, a Buddhist cafe, and over there we can have a bookshop and so on. Whoa, great. But people who are pursuing the truth is what Dogen writes. It's a strange phrase. People who are pursuing the truth are driven by something different. And if you're driven by something different, that's nice. If you practice Zazen, you can find a motivation or a drive which is something different from feeling good. I mean, to feel good is it's America's biggest hope for everybody. Feel good, to feel right, to feel strong, to feel American. Yeah, of course, people want to. But it's not about that. The teachings of the Buddha were not about that.
It's true that doing Zazen, the need to feel good, it comes and goes like everything else. It's just something which happens and then comes again like everything else. Yeah.
If you feel good, that's great. But you don't. It's not necessary to have the need to feel good. or the intention to feel good. So, what do you think?
How do you think that it will be with this, let's say, living society? Because it seems to me that the society is more and more complicated, like these social networks. And,
Yes.
Maybe that in future it will be even more difficult for most of people to kind of leave the...
Yes. Leave the machine.
Leave the machine, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the machine is an emergent property of all of us. So all the people make up society, but society has its own character, and it wants to keep you. Yes. Mm-hmm. It doesn't want you to leave even for a little while.
Like family.
Family. Family, job, everything. If you leave for a little while, it pulls you back. So that's an emergent property of this, what we call society. Yes. Mm-hmm. And it has its own targets or aspirations. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes. I'm not judging. I'm not saying it's bad. Obviously, there are some bad things about society. There's some good things very good things, and some things we need. Like to work is very fulfilling. To work, do some job, and create something, and that something is useful and people enjoy it, is a wonderful feeling. Yeah. So it's not about judging. This is good, this is bad. It's about seeing how things are. If you don't want to see how things are, fine. If you do want to see how things are, then it's a very difficult thing to do. But to do it, it's necessary to take yourself out. Not completely, but to look from the outside. Then you can go back. In the ancient sutras, there's a description of a bodhisattva who leaves society to attain enlightenment, but then doesn't attain enlightenment, goes back into society to help society, so that society can attain enlightenment before the bodhisattva. So in that ancient metaphor is something about leaving, understanding or realizing, and then going back.
Can I ask you about the question about time?
Time.
Because we are still making the coming in and coming out sessions, for example. 1 session, 10 sessions, 100 sessions.
Yeah.
What about the time? Because is this the same situation, still the same situation, nothing changed? Is only the coming out and coming in? Or is something changing in that our situation? I mean, my life, or
this
something
is impossible.
happened, no?
You can't. This is impossible to answer this question in general.
Okay. Thank you.
What about you?
Okay.
Yeah. The other thing is, time is also part of the dream, the trance. Time, as we understand it, does not exist in the way we understand it.
I mean, in my life, coming in and coming out.
Yes, so your life is only a story.
Okay.
The story is called Boris. Where is Boris last year? Doesn't exist. Where is Boris next year? Doesn't exist. Where is Boris? Here. This is Boris. This is the only Boris. There is no other Boris. But we create and share a belief in a story. Ah, yes, Boris, I know. He lives in
There's no other way to
Bratislava.
understand each other. If we don't create the story,
Yes, we
there's
have
no
to
way-
create. Yes.
There's no way to understand
So I'm
each
not
other.
criticizing.
Okay.
We need a story. We can only live in the story. But the story is only a story. But the story is so powerful that we hold on to it. And if we're unsure, we like to make our story stronger. I'll show you some photos of when I went on holiday last year. You know. Or this is reinforcing. Or I've done lots of sessions over the years, and I lived in Japan, and this is reinforcing my story. Why am I reinforcing my story? Because without a story, who am I? Who am I? So it's scary not to have a story. And our story goes into the future. It includes our dreams and our hopes. If we don't have any dreams or hopes, it feels terrible. So it's not to get rid of the story, but to accept the story. This is what we do. A story called Boris, a story called Pavel.
You can make your story consciously.
We can change our story, nobody knows. This is called lying. We can be honest and tell people about our story honestly. It may still be wrong because our memory is so poor. Anybody who lives with a partner knows, you know. Yeah, 3 weeks ago we went. No, we didn't. That was 4 weeks ago. No, it was 3 weeks ago. You know, memory is my memory.
Doing good, not doing wrong. No, still, is some rule. And if you create something by lying or
Doing good, not doing wrong is another part of the story, another part of the trance. In reality, there's nothing good or bad or right or wrong. There's just things that happen. There are events that happen. Event is a nice English word because it doesn't talk about things. Just an event. An event happens, and then another event happens. The event might be caused by my behaviour, which I say is wrong or right, but that's only my belief.
okay, but you still in your personal situation decide go there that way or that way by something. No, it's not you are thinking it's story and objective.
Yeah,
You somehow decide.
yeah. How do we decide? People told me when I was small that think before you act. So I believed that we have to think. And when we think, we can think what we're going to do next, then we can do it. Think before you act. And I think that's a common belief, that we think and then we act. But there are several neuroscientists who have made very nice documentaries to show this is not true. Pause for Robert.
Ten pavuk, menší. Spider. Story about
the spider story.
Yeah, the spider is tomorrow. Tomorrow. The spider is tomorrow, Robert. Don't worry.
And the squirrel. Squirrel also.
And the squirrel, yes.
Ralph squirrel.
Tomorrow. We can't do it all at once.
So I might wait for tomorrow.
Yes.
In my speech.
So what are other people from point of view of, okay, we communicate few stories and conventions and I don't know what, but what are other people really for us? I mean,
They are us.
kinda are.
I only know myself through other people. There are many ways to talk about other people, but one important thing for me is other people show me myself. It's impossible to be alone. We can imagine being alone, but where would that be? Where is our imagination? Because it's difficult to find anywhere you can be alone, and there's always nature or air or wood. So we're always with other people or other physical things, and they all teach us. They teach us if we notice that they're teaching us. Dogs, cats, people, children, partners, they all teach us something. What do they teach us? It's all part of the trance. This is a session we went on last week in Hompolets. This story is Stepan, and here story is Roman. That story is Pavlina. I don't know her story. I know his story.
Yes, I'm doing a lot of photos, so I can remember what is me.
Yes.
But I realize I really forget, so then I look back few years with the photos, and then I remember what is on the photos. So
Yes.
That's my history.
Yes, and that's you, and you feel secure. And sometimes if we look back, we feel, I'm okay. Or we look back and we feel, yeah. So we record our stories. People with cameras everywhere. It's incredible. If you go to a tourist place, you just see people with little black things.
When I went to the Tibetan sessions, 4 years or 5, there was forbidden to make photos. Only one photo after the whole group, one photo finish.
Okay.
It's very interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay, he was not saying it was forbidden, but it was common feeling, common rule, or I don't know.
Yes.
Time
well, it's nice to have photos.
Yeah, it's okay. But somehow we switch to the reality now, to the making.
Well, you know, maybe some people, I lost my camera. All my photos have gone. You know, stress. They feel like somebody's died. They lost.
You need to have online backup. Instant.
Yeah.
Instant.
Yeah. So society
in the cloud
has its own character. It wants to preserve everything. This is a big machine called society, which is you and me, but it has its own character. It's like a big living being. And it's, okay, so we mustn't lose anything. We mustn't lose any part of the story. So
there will be cameras everywhere.
Cameras everywhere, yes.
Everything will be online backup to the cloud, so it's not possible to lose the camera.
No. Everything will be clear. Knowledge will be complete.
Everyone will be happy.
Everyone will be
safe.
It's becoming quite fastly or quickly more complex, more complicated.
Yes.
If you, for example, compare with your childhood,
yes,
or if you say 200 years ago, then it's incredibly.
I grew up in 1950s,
yeah,
1940s, 1950s, and it was like a different world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the trance became so much stronger. Yeah.
The first watch put on some public place was 1840 something in Köln. It changed completely the life of people because they should go at 8 to work and to work to 4 and so on. But before, no time such. It was time like sun or not sun, and so it's not so long time. 18.
That's right.
40.
That was bell 3 times a day.
So we like to go to societies which are not so developed, like undeveloped nature or people who live in the forest.
You mean Czech Republic?
Czech Republic. And we look at them and they remind us of a more free place. So lots of tourists go to Amazon, okay, and they see native people in small boats like this, and it reminds them.
Having iPhones in their pockets.
Making video of this,
Because they have also now, most of them.
They can't resist the trance. Yes, I'm sorry to use the word trance so much, but I love it. It's perfect description for me. Dogen says a dream. He writes a chapter, a dream within a dream.
Shobogenzo?
In Shobogenzo, yeah.
What's the name of the chapter?
Mu-chu setsumu. Mu-chu setsumu. Mu is dream. Chu is inside.
And mu is also emptiness?
It's a different mu.
Different mu.
Yeah, different character.
Cow might moo. Cow.
Not cow. That's
cow might make moo.
Yes. Yeah. So Dogen uses mu, but I found the word trance a few years ago, studying a bit about hypnotherapy, which I didn't understand, and I thought that's a very nice word. It describes being in a state which traps us. And we're always in a trance. You fall in love, that's in it. You can't see anything. When you fall in love, you can't see even the person you fell in love with properly. That happens later. Oh. We go to a new job. we're in a trance for a bit, then we come out. So I love the word. It's very good description. What's the word in Czech?
Trans.
Oh, great. So I'm not criticising society. Well, of course, there are some. It's getting more complicated, and people are more stressed and everything, and it's faster and faster. Even Pavel rings the bell faster than he used to.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ding, ding, ding.
Maybe we sit faster.
Maybe. It may be true.
We defend that we go faster.
I'm fortunate that stupidly I've been practicing Zazen for a very long time, and slowly I moved outside of normal society. So not from my own decisions. I don't live in a family. Not from my own decision. I don't have to go to work. I don't live in my own country. So it happened to me. I didn't plan it. So fortunately, it's easier for me to live on the edges, which makes it easier to see. But for you, as younger people with families, jobs, futures, and so on, it's more difficult. It's true, it's more difficult, but it's not impossible. And if you practice dhyana, zazen, every day, that will steer your life in a direction that maybe you didn't expect. Steer. Guide. Steer the car. Yeah.
Should stop now.
Stop now. Okay.
Thank you.
There's no other time we can stop.